Hello, and thank you for visiting Steve on Pathways, my video blog to help guide you through the Pathways learning experience based on my own experience. Today, we're going to do an overview of Pathways. On the agenda today, we'll be reviewing some of the paths, reviewing the progressive levels of the paths, and then touching base on some of the path electives. This page can be accessed by anyone going into the Toastmasters International site. If you click on Pathways and go to Learn More, you'll find a tile here or icon for each of the 11 paths in Pathways. Each of these paths, dynamic leadership, effective coaching, and so forth, include modules that are not only on public speaking, but also on leadership. Through your skills that you build in those two areas, you also gain confidence, which helps you in many different aspects of life. The only module or path that is focused exclusively on public speaking is this one called Presentation Mastery. Now, if you wanted to learn more about any one of these paths, you could just click on the tile and you'll go to a breakdown of what's included in each of those paths. There's also an explanation at the top of the page, as this one has the example of dynamic leadership, gives you a little bit more of a background about what dynamic leadership path entails. It also breaks out the path into the 5 progressive levels of learning. So starting with some fundamentals or basics, and then moving all the way through demonstrating expertise. So in this top row lists for dynamic leadership, each of the required learning modules that you'll have to complete that level. In addition, some of these levels, like levels 3, 4, and 5, include electives that you can choose from. So in level 3, there's a number of electives here. If you click on this little bar here, it will open up all the electives that you can see what the electives are to choose from in this path in level 3, level 4, and level 5. So it gives you a little bit more of an idea about what your options might be as you go through the path. This again is kind of a breakout of the 5 different levels. Each level builds on the skills that you've learned in the previous level. So mastering fundamentals, if you're new to Toastmasters, you will get familiar with doing your icebreaker and then evaluation feedback, researching, and presenting. Level 2 builds on those skills, level 3, so forth and so on. One of the other things I wanted to point out is that there are some meeting roles that are leadership roles that are required in every project level. So in level 3, to complete that level, you will have had to serve as a table topics master, the Toastmaster, and an evaluator by the end of level 3 to move on to level 4. This is a breakout, again, of all the different 11 paths and the requirements in each of those paths. And what I wanted to point out to you here is that every path has the same learning education modules in level 1. The icebreaker, evaluation and feedback, and research and planning is the same on every path that you might choose. It's only in level 2 that you start to see some differentiation. And why I have some of these in yellow is that they are unique and only available in that particular path. So managing time, body language, cross-cultural understanding, know your sense of humor, those are all unique in level 2 to those paths. Level 3 also has more things that are unique to each level. 4 and 5, same thing, more things that are unique to those particular levels. But in level 1, every path has the same learning modules. On this page, what I've done, again, using dynamic leadership path as an example, is broken out the requirements for the path here in the first column and what the requirements are to complete that particular module. Most of them, as you can see, are 5 to 7 minute speeches. And then in the next column here, who is responsible for completing that? In other words, Pathways is a self-directed self-development program. So you move forward and advance at your own speed. It's up to you if you want to complete a path in 12 months, or you might want to take a couple of years to go through it. It all is up to you and how much time and effort you can devote to completing each learning module. And there are about 14 projects in every path. So again, how quickly you can write a speech get ready for a speech and give a speech, and how much time is available in your particular club or clubs that you belong to will determine perhaps how quickly you can move through a particular path. The last thing I wanted to point out is the VP of Education in every club is also your base camp manager. And their job basically will be to help you move through each of those paths, will be to help approve and submit the award for each completion of each level. So the completion of each project is totally up to the Toastmaster themselves as they go through the learning module. The VP of Education or base camp manager their job is to approve the level that you've just completed and submit the award on Toastmasters International. The base camp manager can also be the president of the club and the secretary. Again, we have a breakout here of dynamic leadership, not to use them that path exclusively as the example here, but again, you can see some of the different electives that are available in each of the different learning modules. And sometimes this is good to look ahead to see what the electives are, because even though as a new Toastmaster, you may want to do each of the learning modules in sequence so that you're building on the skills 1 through level 5. But if you're an experienced Toastmaster and have been giving speeches for a while, you might want to jump around a little bit depending on how opportunities present themselves in life. For instance, if you are going to be writing a compelling blog anyway, because you have some other need or want to write a blog, you might want to jump ahead to this elective in level 4 and do that project, even though you haven't completed some of the other requirements for the other levels yet. So you wouldn't be able to get, even if you did everything for level 4, if you haven't done the requirements for levels 1, 2, and 3, you can't get full credit for level 4. But if the time of your life is such that it's a good time for you to be working on a blog, you could do that and complete that project in level 4 as an elective, even though you haven't done some of the other work previous to it. It's always an opportunity for you to move around just a little bit, just depending on how things go and how life presents its opportunities to you. So once again, one of the things that we did in this particular learning module or episode is to review the paths. We talked about the progressive levels in each path, how they build on the skills you've developed in the previous path. We talked about the path electives. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about picking a path.